Hey, how's it going, everybody? So I wanted to do something different for this video. I wanted to actually record my voice so I could talk over some of the gameplay I wanted to show you for these zombie games. This is my 40 card zombie pile, and it's kind of the only thing I've been playing lately. I've reached Diamond 2. I think I can get to Master with this, but only time will tell. That's my goal. Get to Master, have some fun, play a deck that nobody else is playing. Alright, so we're loading into the first replay here. My opponent has chosen to go first. I got the Zombie World and the King Sarcophagus. So right now, King Sarcophagus is kind of our main play that we're aiming for. Okay, so he opens up Branded. I'm going to immediately max C into the Is, and it goes through. So I'm going to get the draws off of this. He's going to do a second summon here. I'll get a second draw. And now he's returning the Draco Tail card to the hand as well as an effect Veiler. So he's going to have one effect monster negate during my turn. Not familiar with these cards, but this is the attack. So he got a second monster negate here on his turn that he'll be activating. So two monster negates. He'll have a pop once he starts summoning. And then he just set the spell and trap. So automatically I know he's going to negate one of my spell and traps, and he can negate two of my monster effects and start popping cards as well. So I'm going to set the Zombie World. I expect this to get spell and trap card. He may be able to save it. Zombie World's not really too threatening for Draco Tail, but he goes ahead and negates the Zombie World with his spell card. I think I Drone Lockbird. I'm not quite sure what else he can add. I'm not too familiar with the deck, but I'm just going to go ahead, Drone Lockbird, because some of these other trap and spells will draw him cards. I'm going to just try to lock that down. So I'm going to play my King Sarcophagus. I'm going to pitch my Owl Ghoul, because this effect, where he summons himself back after banishing himself to prevent a destruction, actually works while he's in the graveyard. So sending him to the graveyard is kind of where he wants to be. Alright, he's going to start returning my cards. I'm going to negate the Gulamel. And then he uses an Ash on my Unizombie, so I wasn't expecting that. I was going to try to pitch the Bulb to the graveyard using Unizombie's effect, but since he negated that, regardless of whether Zombie World's negated, the fact that it's on the field would have still allowed me to summon the Baldrach, which was my main goal. Alright, ashing the first Sarcophagus is going to pitch, bring back. He's going to fuse into the Draco Tail and try to return my cards that are on the field. He chose wisely. He returned the Horus Monster. If he would have returned the Unizombie, then I would have been able to draw off that. But returning it allows me to pitch again that card that I wouldn't have normally been able to. And then having the Mad Mauler in the graveyard here allows me to bring him out of the graveyard. I'm going to summon into my Avendred Slayer. This is a good utility card for the battle phase because he is out of negates. He's out of interruptions, so I should be able to attack one of his monsters here, destroy it by pitching Baldrach, which is with Zombie World on the field. That's exactly where I want him. Alright, so I used his effect, I pitched the Baldrach. Now he's in the graveyard for follow-up next turn. I'm going to use the Sarcophagus to non-target send to the grave, and then fuse into or link into the SP Little Knight to get rid of his set card, which I know he wanted for follow-up. Standby phase, summon back in. He's going to go into his SP Little Knight. Now, I have to wait to negate the SP Little Knight. I have to wait for him to use the effect of SP Little Knight before using the Baldrach's effect. Negate it. He's going to banish. That allows me to banish my card and his card. No monsters on the field. Here, he doesn't really have any follow-up. He could attack with that, but he kind of ran out of resources at that point. Alright, going into the next duel, I chose first. I won the coin toss, so I'm going to set my King Sarcophagus since this is going to allow me to go into the Horus line and hopefully summon the Zombie Vampire, which is my link or my rank 8 monster here. This will allow me to mill 4 from each deck and then resummon as well. I'm going to save the call by here because I don't know if he has Ash. I don't know if he has Max C. If generally speaking, if he ashes a King Sarcophagus, I'm just going to let it go through and save my call by for a potential Max C play. Forbidden Droplet's not going to be really good going first, so I can pitch that. And then I also have follow-up here with the Curse of Ancient Turtle. I'm going to try to hopefully get like a zombie Banshee into the graveyard to activate my zombie world. So I'm going to go ahead, pitch the Droplet, Horus. Now, before I do any more King Sarcophagus shenanigans, I'm going to always summon my Horus monster up first. That way, if he has anything that can destroy the King Sarcophagus to interact with it, at least I get the Happy here to activate. If he destroys King Sarcophagus, Happy activates, and I'm able to recur the King Sarcophagus back to my hand. Alright, here I'm going to trade my Solitaire for trying to get Unizombie. That was negated. Alright, now that the Solitaire's in the graveyard, I can add I can play Curse of Turtle to banish it and send Necro Banshee to the graveyard. Necro Banshee banish. This is going to set Zombie World, and now I'm going to definitely try to get into the Zombie Vampire line here. So I'm going to pitch Call by the Grave. I don't think he would have played Max C by now. I'm going to summon into the Zombie Vampire, mill 4, and then hope for RNG. Alright, so RNG here, we milled the Mad Mauler, which is in the graveyard, as well as the Al Ghul, which is going to prevent destruction. I notice here that he's playing like an Orcus type combo, so that's good to note. I want to look for these like symbols, Orcus Nightmare, some of this stuff. I would ideally like to get out of the graveyard or remove it. Unizombie symbol. And so there, what I did is instead of summoning Ballardrock to the field using the Glow Up Bloom, instead I added it to my hand, so that way I could pitch it for King Sarcophagus to then send the last Horus monster into the graveyard. Doing that, I'm going to go into Vampire Sucker, and then this is good since I was able to pitch Ballardrock for that Horus monster. I'm going to be able to bring it back, and this will draw me a card with Vampire Sucker. Alright, it's some follow-up for next play in case he is able to deal with the King Sarcophagus and remove it. Now I'm going to Mad Mauler and link into my Link 3 here, which this is going to take a card from his graveyard, doesn't matter which one, and into the Yugioh, which this, great against Malice, but it's also a good effect. If he starts summoning monsters from the graveyard, I'm going to be able to negate his effects as well as prevent any type of banish monster from activating their effects. So against Orcus, there's a few cards that he's going to be bringing back from the graveyard quite a bit with these Orcus. He doesn't like that, so he's going to try to remove my Ballardrock, but here I'm going to prevent that by negating him since he's now a zombie. Negate. Alright, Tower of Babel is going to make all his Orcus monster quick effects, and I'm just going to start I use Ballardrock to banish his World Legacy wand. And now I have no more interrupts, so I'm going to see if those little interrupts were enough to kind of throw off his plan enough to where I can play through this. He's going to bring back from the graveyard into his Link 4. And this thing, yeah, he took ownership of my Yugioh. This is good. Normally, Al Ghul would be able to, as well as prevent the destruction, be summoned back, but since his effect activates in the banishment, since he stole Yugioh, that's going to be prevented. Alright. Ballardrock return. I'm also immediately going to be trying to resummon my Horus monsters. Negate my own Yugioh. He negates the negate. That allows me to draw since he removed the field. An easy super poly into most likely the Dark Dragon from the Predaplant line. He gives up. That draw off of the Horus monster was clutch there, since he removed it. I'm not quite sure if he knew that was going to happen, but... Alright, I've chosen to go first. He has all the Labyrinth cards. I don't know if he's a Labyrinth player, but I wouldn't be surprised here. So automatically my hand Maxi I'm going to try to keep around if he starts summoning monsters on his turn. However, it is pitchable with the King Sarcophagus. The Unizombie here is, since I already have Zombie World in hand, normally I'd be pitching to get the Necro Banshee in the graveyard, so that way I would have Zombie World activatable for my deck. But since I have it in my hand, a line I could do is set put Zombie World into play, put Unizombie in, send the Glow Up Bloom, and then special summon the Baller Drock onto the field. However, I think my main line of playing I want to start out with is going to be the Imseti line, where I get to get Zombie Vampire on the field. So for this, I'm going to try to bait out any Ash Blossom or negates with the Unizombie. Alright, it's going to get impermed, so I won't be able to get Baller Drock out on the field. But that does allow me to go into Imseti and hopefully summon Zombie Vampire without it getting negated, since he used his impermanence. He could still have something like Valor or something like that. But, alright. Note to note, I was able to discard another Necro Banshee, so I have follow-up in case Zombie World gets destroyed. I'm going to mill, pitch. My choices here were kind of limited, so I just went with the non-tuner Maxi in my graveyard. I could have summoned another Unizombie, but that would have been 2 tuners on the field, and I've already used Unizombie's effect that I wanted. So right here, I have a Super Poly in my hand. I could pitch it to try to get the Happy or another King Sarcophagus into play, but I think Super Poly is a good enough card for disruption on the next turn that I want another card in my hand so I can activate Super Poly by discarding it on his turn. I don't know what I was doing there. So how do I get another card in my hand here? I'm going to go into my Vampire Sucker, and normally I wouldn't use the Vampire Sucker to put one of his graveyard monsters, since we milled it. He has a Fuvalos in his graveyard. I normally wouldn't summon it to give him resources, but here I want the extra draw to make my Super Poly activatable next turn. So he does have a resource here. Hopefully I'm not too punished by it. However, he special summons into his Diabellstar. Alright, so now I'm just waiting for since I have no really other interruptions aside from Super Poly, what I'm trying to do is get him to do like 3 dark monsters, since he is playing a dark deck with these Azamina cards. Hopefully he does 3 dark monsters, so that way I can get the most value out of it and summon into this Predaplant, which uses 3 dark monsters on the field. Otherwise 2 darks or would work as well. However, since I have Zombie World on the field, 2 of any of his monsters, since they're turned into zombies, would get me a the Doom or that. Alright, so here, alright, he's going to activate to destroy my Super Poly, so I have to use it here. Otherwise, I would probably wait till he does his whole line of play. Since I know he doesn't have any towers in this deck, in the Azamina Archmage deck, they don't have towers. So I was going to let him do his whole play. However, since he opted to destroy the Super Poly, I'm going to use it now. He has 2 zombies, and then I go into my Dragon Necro. Hopefully that was enough to disrupt him. We'll see. He's continued to cycle through his spell cards and Archmages. And I'll be honest, I don't really know Archmage cards like that, but I know this is kind of their main boss monster that turns any of the Archmage cards into like board wipes, which is exactly what he does. He changes that Archmage into a complete board wipe, so I'm left a little defenseless. I'm left to whatever I draw from the top deck. Hopefully it's something. I do have a Mizukian Grave, so I can reborn a zombie off of that, but that's kind of the only immediate follow-up that I have right now. So good draw. I draw into the King Sarcophagus here. I'm going to banish the Necro, get the zombie world back, get into my Unizombie. He's going to imperm the Unizombie. This would have been trying to get my Ballard Rock or send the Glow Up Bloom. Since he impermed that, I can get into the Horus cards here, summon into the Avenged Slayer, and since my main goal is to get Ballard Rock on the field here, I can do that by linking into the Link to Avenged Slayer to pitch him from the deck in order to lower his attack points, and now he's in the graveyard for follow-up for next turn. King Sarcophagus is going to non-target send to the grave, and then using SP I'm going to banish his field spell. Now that I got Ballard Rock into the grave, I'm able to negate and banish on 2 of his monster activations, which I'm going to negate the Dia Bellstar. He's going to attack SP and then continue his plays from here. Here I'm just going to banish. I banished the Dia Bellstar because the card that he activated needed you to pitch a card, or so he gets the field spell card. However, he gives up because at this point I kind of out-resourced him, and I have a continuous resource with Ballard Rock there. So, all right, going into the next play here. All right, I've opted to go first, so I'm going to immediately summon Kashtira Unicorn. A lot of people are playing one-ofs in their decks or in their extra decks, so getting any type of interaction from him, whether it's like a Maxi or like a Ash Blossom, will let me get rid of something that's really troublesome, as well as the follow-up for next turn. Once he starts activating monster effects too, even if he had a 2-of in his extra deck, I can get rid of that. And now Unicorn has good synergy with zombies because with the Kashtira Birth, I'm able to continuously bring back Unicorn from the grave. And since with Zombie World, Unicorn is considered a zombie monster in the graveyard. So I'm going to go ahead, use Unizombie to pitch Necrobanshee, get my Zombie World on play, get the Kashtira Birth on play, and start pitching the rest of my cards. Now I opted to keep Rivalry of Warlords in my hand because this is just a... it is the Floodgate, the 1-of Floodgate in my deck that I will use to lock down the opponent since Zombie World's on the field. Summon into the Vampire Slayer here because I know I can rebirth Kashtira Unicorn and get the draw off of Vampire Slayer or Vampire Sucker. Alright, really fortunate draw here. I was able to draw into my Ballard Rock here, pitch the Ballard Rock to get Horus. Summon Horus into the Vampire Zombie here. Mill the 4. Now this is a dream scenario. This whole line of events, like the perfect cards, kind of came into play here. Because with Shiranui Solitaire, I'm actually able to sacrifice the Slayer or Solitaire into the Glow Up Bloom, and then link into the 3. Summon here. Now I could have used the card that I pulled from his grave to link into my Link 4. However, I chose to link with the Alghoul because he's better off in the graveyard for follow-up for next turn in case he tries to destroy my card. So this board is on lock. As you can see here, he's only able to, as soon as he summons a monster, he's locked into zombies and he's not going to be able to use his extra deck or cards from his hand. He can only really resummon things from his graveyard since those would be considered zombie cards. Everything else, as soon as he plays a face-up monster, he's locked into zombie, and that's the Floodgate there. It's a 1-of, alright? Ballard Rock coming back to the field, so that's a negate as well as a banish. I have Unicorn taking away from his extra deck. I have Kashtira Birth if he activates a spell card to banish face down from the grave 3 cards. I have Sucker to give myself a draw if he starts to reborn from his graveyard, and I have Yugioh to also add some more negates onto the field. Alright, this was a mistake. He used Forbidden Droplet on the Sucker. What he really should have used it on was either the Kashtira, but most likely the Ballard Rock here, since it represents 2 forms of interruption. He's going to pitch. I'm going to take away his SP Little Knight. And then I'm going to use the Birth to try to remove these cards. He was able to resummon from the grave here. My Yugioh, since he did resummon from the grave, was able to negate the effect. From here, I'm going to banish the card he was trying to get back from the graveyard. That returns the field, and from here it should be a wrap. Draw. Now have even more disruption with the Super Poly. Banish this Azamina card, and it's a wrap. This just shows like the dream scenario of the cards that you want to open up with, and the chain of events, whether it's the milling and all that. Really good RNG in that game. That's a perfect example. Alright, going to the next game here, I've opted to go first. I won the toss here, so Droll and Lockbird, kind of a dead card in my hand, so I'm able to pitch it with the King Sarcophagus. I have the Necro Banshee here, so if I can pitch the Necro Banshee to activate a Zombie World from my deck, that's better than just acting Zombie World from my hand, because this way it gets the Zombie World out of my deck so I don't draw into it later. And also I have follow-up with another Zombie World in case he is able to destroy my Zombie World. So, okay. This is a good illustration. He's going to Mulcharmy me the Fuvalos. This deck plays really good into Fuvalos because I don't really summon from the deck too much, and I'm able to avoid summoning from the extra deck as well, so I'm able to double punish here. Alright, send the Necro Banshee to get my Zombie World from the deck. I'm going to send the Happy here. I'm going to continue to get my Horus monsters online here. Now I could summon a zombie vampire, but that would give him a draw off of Fuvalos, and I think just having these two Horus monsters here plus the third one in Imseti would be enough where he'd have to play around that, and I would probably live to go another turn. Right now I'm going to sacrifice Solitaire, get in my Unizombie. He does get a draw off that. However, I send Glow Up Bloom here. And Glow Up Bloom, I could special summon, but that would special summon the Baller Drock from the deck. So instead, I'm just going to add it to my hand, so that way I can use it for fodder for this King Sarcophagus to get the Imseti online here. Pick up Baller Drock, don't special summon it, send it, get the Imseti online. And right here, I'm going to end my turn here with only giving him one draw off of Fuvalos and setting up. I don't have a lot of interruption here. However, I do have a lot of like plays where he needs to be aware of if he's going to try to remove any of these. Get the Doom King online. I'm going to negate his Draco Tail. It's a non-target, so it's still going to negate with Baller Drock here. And he gives up after that. Alright, going into the next game, I'm playing against, I don't know at the time, but I am playing against Yummy. I chose to go first. I don't know that he is on Yummy, so I do have Maxi if he tries to summon on my turn of Unizombie, which I have Zombie in my hand, so I can try to use Unizombie to pitch the Glow Up Bloom to get Baller Drock. I have a Foolish Burial, so I can send another card from hand to the grave, or from deck to the grave. Activate. Right here, he's going to act Perulia. So he's going to get a draw if I summon Unizombie. So instead, I'm just going to do my Glow Up Bloom. This is going to summon from the deck. It'll do Baller Drock. Now he uses Ash on my Glow Up Bloom, so I'm unable to get that. So I am going to use my Unizombie, give him a draw off that, and just send Baller Drock directly from the deck to the grave. So that way, it'll resummon on the standby phase. He's gonna maxi it. I'm gonna chain my maxi, so that way if he was to like finger it, then he would end up fingering his own maxi as well. He's gonna use drones here. Link into the Kagari. Here I get the draw off of maxi, and I'm gonna start negating this. He's gonna droll, that doesn't matter. Alright, but he used it to also send his Kagari. He's going to get drones back. He shouldn't have Kagari left. He's going to go into a Link Karibo, and now he's going to start doing his Yummy lines. However, in order for them to summon the Link, the Yummy Link monster, they need a light beast monster on the field. Since Zombie World turns them into a zombie, Zombie World pretty much shut down Yummy if you're able to get Zombie World on the field. He is able to summon into the Synchro, but from there he has no other plays. So it's really good going first against Yummy when you're able to get the Zombie World. It's almost an automatic scoop. Alright, this next duel, I'm analyzing since I'm going first here, I have the Unizombie. I can pitch Necro to get my zombie world online, and then I also have King Sarcophagus. I can pitch Happy, get another Horus monster, and rank up into the zombie vampire to mill. The Mad Mauler is a good card to send with King Sarcophagus. That gives me synchro follow-up. So I'm going to start here with the King Sarcophagus this time, because I'm going to bait any type of Ash Blossom, since if he Ash Blossoms my King Sarcophagus, then it doesn't permanently negate it for the rest of the turn. It just negates that one here. So he's going to Fuvalos. Once again, this deck has no problem playing into Fuvalos here, since we're not summoning from the deck. We're going to primarily be summoning from the graveyard. So I'm going to go ahead. Alright, now that is a problem. His max C there. So since he max C'd any of these Horus monsters that I special summon from the graveyard will get him a draw. I'm going to go ahead, give him the one draw here. However, I know this is alright because I have the Droll and Lockbird, so I'm going to lock down his additional draws, and I'm able to summon into everything else here. Pitch the Mad Mauler, get my third one here. The reason why I don't summon this third Horus monster here is because I want to link into at some point using two materials into the Vampire Sucker, and then reborn the Horus monster to give me that extra draw. So from here, I really didn't have much to pick up from the my mills were the Curse of Ancient Turtle, which is good follow-up, and then I could have summoned back my Necro Banshee, but preferred in the grave so I can get Zombie World online here. Mad Mauler into this to get into my rank 3, pick up his monster from his grave, and now I could go into a rank 4 here, which I do, and I opt to keep his Draco Tail to prevent him from using it on his turn. Alright, honestly, probably not the best. He went ahead and banished my Link 3 honestly, once Vampire Fascinator's in the graveyard, I don't ever really resummon it. I mean, I could if I really wanted to, but realistically, you probably should have banished like the Mad Mauler, since that is more likely to come back. Fuse into our Thalion, start returning monsters. He's going to return my Link 4, and from here I'm able to draw. Perfect draw in time for his Rahu, because I'm able to Retaliating C. I don't care about his max C at this point, since the Retaliating C is going to do enough here to where it banished all his recursion. I'm able to use the Pyramid Turtle effect, get my max C from the Retaliating C, and then immediately, this is the power of the Curse of the Ancient Turtle, that when he destroyed my zombie monster, I'm able to special summon Ballardrock, since he's a zombie with 2000 or less defense, from the deck. And then I don't think he read there. I just non-targeted with the King Sarcophagus. I'm going to get Ballardrock to resummon on my turn here. I have a Retaliating C that I drew into here, so that's really fortunate here. He's going to get rid of my zombie world, which is fine. Ash the draw here. But I'm just going to summon back all the Horus monsters, and then link into my Link. Or synchro into the Red Eyes. Synchro again. I'm able to remove from play his Gulamel, and then from here able to inflict massive damage. I have the Retaliating C for any type of Rahu or Kitu. He's going to activate his Kitu. I'm going to set the Retaliating C, and once again just shutting down his play here. Fortunate draws with the Retaliating C really took away all his recursion, which is exactly why I play Retaliating C for Draco Tail and some of the other decks. Like it even works against parts of Lunalight when they use their polys. It just makes it so they don't have like 2 towers on the field. Alright, here I'm going to instantly go into my Kashtira, since he's not special summonable any other way. With the Kashtira, I'm able to get the I'm getting a Kashtira Birth here. He's going to draw. This once again, this deck plays really good into draw. It doesn't really care. And with that, I was able to banish his Cookie Yummy. Now, I know with Zombie World as it is, as soon as I play Zombie World, since he's playing Yummy, he's going to be locked out of that Link monster. So I pretty much have him by the balls here. I'm going to get into my Unizombie here, pitch the Necro Banshee from my hand in order to activate Zombie World, and then that way I'm able to pitch the Glow Up Bloom from the deck to get Ballardrock. From here, I'm gonna link. Now I forgot I was under Droll and Lockbird because I'm probably trying to get a free draw off of Vampire Sucker, but since I'm under Droll and Lock, I'm gonna rebirth with Kashtira Birth the Unicorn, and I'm not able to get the free draw that I normally would with Sucker since a Droll and Lock. However, you know, if I wasn't Droll and Lock, that would have been an extra draw. Ballardrock comes back, he's gonna bell it, then he's gonna look to negate the Kashtira. That's fine. Alright, look, he went into Cookie Yummy. Normally they would go into that Link monster, but he's unable to go into the Link monster here, so he's just only able to go into the Salamangreat. Sink into this Yummy here, get another Yummy, that's fine. I'm just trying to show you how good this deck is against Yummy. He has no other plays. Like, shutting him out of his Link monster for Yummy is just going to shut down his plays completely. He's elected to go first, so I'm not going to be able to get Zombie World online before he goes into his Link monster. However, I do have a Max C, a Retaliating C. This is alright. It's not going to shut down too much, however, it is a disruption of some sorts. Max C here, just to try to dissuade him from doing a full combo. I have Super Poly to board break on his turn, and then, yeah, that's kind of all I got, because these two cards in my hand together, they're kind of worthless. So I'm going to try to draw off a Max C here. I don't know what deck he's playing, where he's going to play Yummy and he's going to play Magician Soul. At this point, I think he's on like a Dark Magician deck or a Fiendsmith deck here. So he negated my Max C, so I'm not going to get extra draws from it. So I'm kind of in trouble. I'm hoping for a good top deck on my turn, but I do have the Super Poly play. He is going to go into his Yummy combo here. He's able to go pretty deep in this combo here. I don't know if he's going to be able to summon like a Herald. This is what I was talking before about how this Link 1 here requires a level 4 lower light beast monster. So if I had Zombie World on here, he wouldn't even be able to get into the Snatchy. Okay, he is able to manage to get into Herald here. Here I'm able to get Herald off the field because he doesn't want me to Retaliating C it. I'm unable to get another Max C for my turn off of that since it was destroyed from the hand and not the field. He's going to go into Sprite. So I think I don't know if I got enough disruption with all that from last turn. Him going into Fiendsmith, I know this isn't the most strongest like Yummy combo out there, but he is able to get into the Wave King Caesar. So the Super Poly isn't really activatable since he has a fire and a water here. I prefer like the same or darks, the same types or darks, or same attribute and dark. Immediately getting into here, he summons a light, so he has a light, fire, and a water. He sprites back another light. This gives me the second light to go into Super Poly. Pitch the Happy, I don't need it. Take it into the Garura. Now from Garura, I'm able to Typhon return the Caesar, and then luckily off the draw from the Garura, I'm able to get into my King Sarcophagus line and start pitching these cards from my hand here. Realistically, I messed up. I just recently added Canopic Protector from the to the deck, but I could have pitched it using King Sarcophagus, because if I pitched it, it would have been able to automatically come back, and I would have been able to get an additional Horus monster into the graveyard. I'm going to activate it here, get my Ballardrock back, since he has a field card spell. And this is why I added it, because oftentimes I'm using these these horse cards as fodder for my other zombie monsters and all that, whether it's the lynx or the zombie vampire. So using Canopic Protector, I'm able to recur them back from the graveyard on my opponent's turn, which just gives me additional follow-up for the next turn, either by drawing cards off the Dumaful, removing a card with Imseti, or recurring banished cards or graveyard cards back to my hand with the Happy. Alright, and there I just out-resourced him essentially. He gave up. Alright, this last replay here came during the Duelist event, where it was just Link. I think it was it was a Fusion Synchro event, so... Alright, I don't really have any other play than to summon the Necro Banshee. I could quick play it into the zombie world, but this is a dead card in my hand because I don't want to banish the Glow Up Bloom. I don't want to banish the Doom King just to get another Necro Banshee into the graveyard to set up zombie worlds. So instead, I'm just gonna pass it over to him and see what he's got. Realistically, like any other day or in any other situation, I'm probably dead here, but since this is a limited event where some of the cards, you know, he's not going to have Link monsters, all that, I'm willing to play here. He Fuvalos, that doesn't really matter. And then he's going into what appears to be Lunalight. I'm just going to do this right now, get the zombie world online here. It does have some follow-up play for next turn. And now I'm just waiting for him to use a special summon spell card so that way I can get Retaliating Sea on board and try to survive till next round. Here he goes into his Lunalight Dancer and just attacks me twice. I remain at 400 life points. And now drawing this card I don't normally play, however, like I said, is a limited event, so I added this card since I wasn't able to play other cards like Maxi or whatnot. So this one gives me some options here. Using this, I special summon him from my hand since I just normal summon Glow Up Bloom, and then I'm going to return it to my hand, get Doom King on the field, and now I'm able to remove this card from my hand or banish it from my hand to get the Al Ghul onto my field. Al Ghul, this is a deliberate card I put into the graveyard because I know he's going to be trying to board wipe me with his quick play Liger Dancer. So Al Ghul is going to prevent this board wipe. And then special summon him back to the field. I'm going to remove his fusion monster here. So the only way I can out this Liger Dancer is with my my zombie Necro Dragon here. If there's enough cards in the graveyards, in both mine and his graveyard, and on the field that are zombie, since all these cards are zombie in his graveyard, my graveyard, and on the field, except for his Liger Dancer, then I'm going to have attack over his Liger Dancer. So my only goal is to try to get a level 7 monster on board, and then also get my Mad Mauler in the grave, reduce the level of the level 7 card I have on field, whether it's my Al Ghul Mazera once he comes back can go into level 7, and or it could be my Castiri Unicorn typically. So I'm just kind of trying to do as much as I can there to get the pieces I need in the graveyard. So I get Mad Mauler into the graveyard using the special summon of Chang-Chi. So I have one of the pieces I need. So he's going to be able to attack twice with Liger Dancer here. Alright, so I'm going to reborn the Al Ghul here. Remove that. And then see how this changed to level 7. Normally a level 8, but when he comes back I can have the option to change him into level 7. So my goal is to have Al Ghul on the field and summon the Mad Mauler back. And then hopefully he leaves the Al Ghul on the board. Use this to get Shiranui Solitaire. He leaves the Al Ghul on board. However, bringing back the Baller Drock here, he's going to instantly pop. Since Al Ghul wasn't in the graveyard or in my hand, I'm unable to prevent that. So now I just set my Ash Blossom in order to survive for next round. I'm able to save these cards again using Algul. Once again, I hope Algul just stays on the field long enough to where I can Mad Mauler into that. He kills that. Alright, so he leaves Algul here. Summons into that. That's another double attacker. I'd like to get that off the field as soon as possible. Baller Drop comes back. Now, if I was him, he doesn't know that my win con here is going to be the Red Eye Zombie Necro Dragon. He thinks I'm just stalling to maybe deck him out, or maybe I'm drawing into something that can out his Liker Dancer. However, he should banish these cards into here, or at least when I summon the Mad Mauler here, if I summon the Mad Mauler, he should have board wiped there to get rid of this synchro play here. But now that I have this synchro online here, he did have 3,800 attack. I just normal summon Retaliating Sea since he turns into a zombie on the field, so that gives me 3,900 attack now. And I'm able to prevent his destruction from his board wipe now with the Algul in the graveyard. And now this should be all she wrote. I outed his Liger Dancer unless he has another one. However, I do have... Alright, so that wraps up the discussion today. I know I'm just kind of rambling when I'm going through these replays, but this is my first time I've ever done the recording of the voice. I just wanted to kind of illustrate and give why I do things, or like the way I think about a hand going into going first or going second, and depending on the matchup that I'm playing into. This deck, it does really good into Fuvalos. It does alright into Max C. It doesn't really play through hand traps like... you know, Ash Blossom can shut this down, Valor, like any of those combinations. Like it can play through one, but combinations, one or two of those can really shut this deck down. However, this has a really good matchup against Yummy, especially going first by summoning Zombie World. I showed you how that prevents the Snatchy from being able to summon itself. And then realistically, this deck is kind of slept on just because people don't really... don't really see this deck a whole lot, so they don't really understand what I'm trying to do with this deck. It has really good board breakers with Super Poly and the synergies it can get with Zombie World going into the Dragon Necro, as well as you know, seeing if they summon 3 dark monsters going into this Predaplant fusion monster here. I like this deck too. It doesn't lock you into, say, fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link monsters. As you can see, this deck plays a wide variety of all of those monsters there, so I don't really get shut out of there. I added Cashteer here just to be extra annoying. Like, this deck needs all the help it can get to be competitive. So while I used to play like just a pure zombie pile, I realized those decks like Eldritch, like using Eldritch monsters and some of the other gimmicky type of zombie monsters, they didn't really do a whole lot for the deck as far as being able to get pushed past like or platinum, even into diamond, lower ranks of diamond. You'd get kind of fucked up doing that. So Droll and Lockbird, this card, great for against Maxis, good against Fuvalos, good against you know, Mitsurugi and all that, as well as some of the Orcus combo lines. This will shut that down. Play the one of Bloom. You don't really need more than one of these. If you play 2 of these, it's probably because you have way more level was this level 5 or higher zombies. Like if you played Changshi, or you played Vampire Void, which I have in the past, that could maybe be a reason why you play more than one Glow Bloom. But honestly, one Glow Bloom's all I need, because I'm kind of just aiming for the baller Drock or nothing, and then at some point trying to get Mizera into the grave as well, just to give me added protection. The 2 Maxis, that's mandatory in any deck. Here, the Mad Mauler, if this card gets into the grave, it can go, this is what's gonna get you into your synchro plays. Since I don't really synchro with the Unizombie, it's more Mad Mauler. That's what opens up these lines of play here. The 3 Unizombies, as well as the 1 Shiranui Solitaire. I play this card because this is just playing essentially a 4th copy of Unizombie. However, if I already have Unizombie online, and I, like, say I summon it from the the vampire or whatever, I'm able to sack itself to get into the glow up bloom, since the glow up bloom's also a tuner. So it gives me a little bit more versatility while giving me more stability and reliability with just a fourth copy of Unizombie essentially. I used to play 2 Mizuki. I switched it down to 1. It just in your opening hand, unless you have like, you know, King Sarcophagus, Mizuki is kind of a dead card, or maybe you could pitch it with the Imseti. However, Mizuki ultimately just wants to be in the grave, and it's only one effect. It's a very old card, so it doesn't have like a bunch of text where it's just gonna be like, once it's in the grave it does this, and then you can recur it this and all that. It's just a one-trick pony. It gets in the grave, it's special summons. So it was kind of a Garnet in a way, so I only play one of it because I can brick pretty easy with this deck. The 2 Retaliating Seas, this is meta dependent, but since we're in a Draco Tail meta, the Retaliating Sea just pretty much shuts them down anytime they use the Key 2 or the Rahu, as well as some other decks that it goes good against, like Sky Striker. It can shut them down if you play it early enough. This deck actually kind of struggles into Sky Striker, so luckily with the emergence of Yummy and having Draco Tail, you don't see as much Sky Striker anymore. I'd play the 2 Necro Banshees. Playing 3 is overkill. 2 Necro Banshees as well as 2 Zombie Worlds is all I need. 3 of either is you're going to draw into it too many times, where you're going to like draw into, say, 2 Zombie Worlds and a Necro Banshee. That's kind of a dead hand at that point. So ideally, you're just going to draw into one or the other, either a Zombie World or have something to send Necro Banshee to the grave to get Zombie World online. Or oftentimes I'll just use Necro World Banshee to pitch with Imseti, and then get recursion off of that. So Kashtira Unicorn, just a 1 of here, as well as the Kashtira Birth to keep reborning it once I sack it off into these link monsters, as well as just be annoying with taking away. Some people only play like 1 Dulamel, or they only play 1 of each of the Yummy cards, like some of the Synchro monsters, taking away the one that flips 2 monsters face down, taking away that one, or taking away somebody's like SP Little Knight, since this deck is kind of weak into removal. It doesn't really have good ways to prevent it outside of just generic Omni negates. Lava Golem, I just have that in there. I used to have something else. I can't really remember what I had, but I added this in because while this deck really does need its normal summon, it's okay. There are ways that you can brick into it, but since it has enough way to special summon with the Horus, the Imsetis, the Kashtira here, just taking away 2 of their like tower monsters, or 2 of their monsters that are just going to create enough disruption, I'd rather have that than just normal summon Unizombie and get like a zombie world online. I would rather just take those 2 away and then play with my special summons, or live to survive another turn here. The 1 Baller Drock here, playing 2 is overkill, because these are you can only use these effects once each per turn, despite having 2 Baller Drocks on the field. There's really no point. And if Baller Drock ever gets removed, then you're going to sync into or link into your link 2 here, the Flying Mary, because this is going to be able to special summon a level 5 or higher zombie monster that is banished or in the graveyard. So a lot of people like to like finger the Baller Drock or remove the Baller Drock thinking that they disposed of it, but all I do is I get 2 of my monsters, whether it's like the Horus monsters or something else, link into the Flying Mary, and then get the Baller Drock from the banish pile and back onto the field. And that's typically enough to cause more mayhem. That 1 of Al Ghul Mazera, this card is like, I would probably say this card is like the unsung hero of my deck. This card has so much, there's so much removal in this game that like this is just able to prevent a lot of that, and this card allows me to survive and follow up the next turn, whereas like some of the opponents that I play against aren't familiar with this card, to where they're going to overlook the fact that they're not actually going to be able to wipe my whole board because I have this card here. I play the 3 Imsetis here. I play the Dumatov, I don't know how to pronounce that, and the Happy here. Just this overall horse package with the King Sarcophagus goes really good into getting into the zombie vampire line, as well as it's just constantly reborning monsters from the graveyard. Now that, especially now they added Canopic Protector here, and this card when pitched gets placed back on the field, so I don't. It's not a wasted card if I pitch it. I play the one of Foolish here, the one of Triple Tactics. I never want to have two of this in my hand. It's just this deck needs enough consistency to where like even drawing two Triple Tactics is gonna potentially derail this deck here. The one of Curse of Ancient Turtle, I also added this card relatively recently, within the past month or two. This just allows another way for me to get my Necro Banshee online, as well as it has there's not a lot of cards that interact in the graveyard on your opponent's turn, so this is a good way of, like, if they destroy your zombie monster, you're able to special summon, say, the Baller Drock, in case you weren't able to get it onto the field during your turn. So it just adds extra utility, more than, say, like Mizuki, that once again is just a one-trick pony. Two Zombie Worlds, the one Birth, the three of these, the three Super Poly. This is Mando. These are my board breakers. These are like primarily the way I play through really strong board setups going second, aside from like Triple Tactics, Lava Golem. So you notice I don't have any Ash or like Bell or anything in like that. I just decided this deck, like, we're in a meta right now where one hand trap, two hand traps really doesn't stop your opponent. And if you're already playing two cards down at that point, like say you Ash and then you Bell or you Veiler or whatever, and they're able to set up a semi board after that, this deck doesn't have enough gas to where it can play, like, you're probably going to just get out resourced at the end. So this deck is more optimal if I'm just able to completely board break my opponent, or board break them enough to where, like, get over their Caesar, get over their some of their other cards, like their SP or their IP Masquerena and all that, to just super poly over it, Lava Golem over it, try to retaliating see them, whatever. Just be annoying with these board breakers. The one of Call by the Grave, mandatory. The one of Forbidden Droplet, this has good synergy because a lot of these zombie cards wants to be in graveyards, so I use one Forbidden Droplet. But much like the Triple Tactics talent, if you draw two of these, I used to play like 3 copies of this, then I switched it down to 2, and now I just have 1, because I never want to draw more than 1 copy of this ever. Otherwise it's pretty much it's hard to play through if you have just 2 dead cards in your hand going first like that. The Rivalry of Warlords, this is my one floodgate I have. I know it's annoying, but, like, once again, this deck needs all the help it can get, so sorry but not sorry. Essentially, this with any zombie world on the field pretty much shuts the opponent down. Very few opponents are able to play through this unless they're able to special summon from the graveyard a lot, and then able to remove this, because this prevents them from summoning from their hand or extra deck, essentially, once zombie world's on the field. Canopic Protector, really good resource management card here. I'm really happy I added to my deck. I'm just going to play one of, though. I got my super poly targets here. Self-explanatory here. This with zombie world on the field just allows me to take any 2 of their monsters, so like their Wave King Caesar or whatever else is on their field, doesn't matter. I'm gonna super poly it. Immortal Dragon here. It's hard to get it's hard to get Synchro 6 monster, or 6 level 6s to line up for this synchro play. However, in rare cases I am able to use, like, say, the Mad Mauler, and then he reduces the level 8, or he reduces, I don't even know. He eventually this guy shows up at some point, but this is a too good of enough card to cut from the extra deck. I absolutely need this card here. The Red Eye Zombie Necro Dragon, I used to switch this back and forth with the other the rank 10 Necro Dragon or Chaos Angel. However, I like this card because it outs with the as you saw, this is my win con for the Liger Dancer. You just need the Al-Ghul into the grave, and but if they summon 2 of the Liger Dancers, you can't really do a whole lot. Your goal is to just disrupt enough to where they can only summon 1, and then try to out it with the Red Eye Zombie Necro Dragon. the Synchro 8 here, absolutely. We have a lot of Link 8, or we have a lot of level 8 monsters, so the Mad Mauler, lowering these guys down to level 7 and then summoning itself is able to get you into the Synchro 8 quite a bit. And this is just a banish. His second effect doesn't really occur too much. Zombie Vampire, this is my main target whenever I open up with the Horus line here. I get 2 of these guys on the field, summon into the Zombie Vampire, and then I'm able to mill, trying to hit, like, say, a Necro World Banshee, trying to get Mad Mauler into the grave, hopefully try to get a Unizombie to come back, so that way I can get a Necro World Banshee into the grave to get Zombie World online. Or maybe I hit, you know, pretty much any of these things that you hit, you're gonna are good targets for that special summoning, including Kashtira Unicorn on there. I added the Typhon here just to give myself another rank monster, and honestly I pulled a royal from this from like the the New Year's event. I was really lucky. I think you could get any type of UR royal, and I just happened to pull Typhon, so I gotta use it, right? It's, you know, it's the Vampire Sucker, I used to play 2 of these, however cutting this down to 1 allowed me to add cards like Typhon and SP. SP is just too good of a card not to include in this deck, especially because this deck has like 0 removal against spell and trap. I'm not really able to interact with their spell and traps like that, so this is kind of my out to that. The Vindred Slayer Savior here, this is able to just push like a Glow Up Bloom or a Doom King or a Mazera into the graveyard during the battle phase. It's just an extra way of getting cards into the graveyard, which this deck, that's how it thrives. The Flying Mary we talked about, that's my way of getting the Doom King. I don't really care about the pop on here, however it can be useful from time to time. It's just mainly like, this is my main way of getting my remove card, and by removed I mean the Doom King, back into the mix. The Fascinator, I'm really only summoning this to pull one of their monsters from the graveyard, and then I'll either keep it because the monster that I pulled has a really good effect, like an Omni Negate or something like that, and just be annoying with their own card, or I just link into it at the end of my turn to get into my link for the Yugioh, the Absolute Zero Mayakashi, just to prevent any type of banishing shenanigans, as well as anytime they summon from their graveyard, they're going to get their effects negated and their attack reduced to 0. This card, it's alright. It's not like an ultimate boss monster, and they're like, opponents can play around this card pretty easily. However, it's in tandem with the Doom King and some of this other interruption I have. This deck is never gonna shut out like meta decks. However, it's good enough to just be annoying, and it's good enough to be fun enough to play, especially with the board breaker style. So yeah, I don't really have any hand traps outside of like the mandatory max C's. I don't play Fuvalos. That card's kind of a dead card going first, and it's kind of a dead card after your opponent's first turn as well if they're going first. So I don't really play more than 40 cards because this deck needs consistency. If you sample 5 of here, like, going first, all you have here is this Unizombie play that you pitch the Necro Banshee to set up your zombie world, and then outside of that, you're kind of stuck. I guess you could pitch the Mad Mauler into the graveyard, but I'd probably keep it for the Forbidden Droplet on your opponent's turn to try to negate, and then you just hope that they're going to summon. You see what I mean? Like, this deck doesn't have enough room. Like, if I, instead of the Unizombie or the like, instead I draw into like a Veiler or like an Ash Blossom going first. Like, this is just a random combination. I'm cooked there. Here's another sample of 5 here. The next one, like, this has no going first value here. In fact, this is horrible. You would just pray that you're going to second on this board, so that way you could go super poly. You could play Retaliating Sea on their turn and try to get into a maxi eventually, and then Lava Golem, and then hopefully you top deck into like a Unizombie or a Kashtira or something like that. This one has, you're going to go into your Imseti line here. You have the maxi and triple tactics in case they Ash or something your Imseti. So you get what I'm saying. Like, this This deck doesn't have a whole lot of room for like some of these other non-engine that are just like one trick ponies, one and done type of things, you know. Imagine if like I had a Mizuki in here, like so that's my point here. That's why you don't see some of this other stuff in the deck. Additionally, overall, I'm able to get to Diamond 2. I'm pushing into here. You know, I just need 2 more wins. Zombie and Diamond 1, and then I'll try to push into Master. Hopefully next video I'll be Master, but you never know. We'll see. You see my match history: win, loss, win, win, 3 losses, 2 wins, and then a bunch of wins here, loss, win. So this deck does well. It's just, you know, pick and choose. A lot of the wins I have, you know, I don't even know what this. I can't because there was an update, huh? Alright, well, never mind then. But I had a bunch of wins before this too. You just gotta believe me. Like, I wouldn't lie to you guys, but, you know, had 3 losses here, but whatever. I bounced back, so, yeah, that's my deck. It's kind of what I'm proud of, and, yeah, peace.